This is what I'm going to be showing you how to make in this video. We're going to be talking about how to make Electro. I'm going to be showing you guys a bunch of new stuff too, particularly with these synths and with the drums. To go along this video, you can grab this entire template. The samples, MIDI, presets, and the project file are all available for just $5 at the top of the description on my website. Don't miss out, guys. This is a great template you can grab right now to instantly have something really high quality in this style that could really help your tracks. You know, this is something you can drag in right now, and I promise your tracks will sound better. Link is at the top of the description. Thank you so much for the support, guys. This does really help support me. I don't make a whole lot off of YouTube, but really it's about supporting you guys too. It's not just about making some kind of merch for me, but it's a resource that you guys can really use, because there isn't stuff like this out there, and it's available right at the top of the description of this video. Congratulations, you made it, you found it, it's right there. Go grab it while it's available. Thank you so much for the support, guys, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're at 135 BPM. The first thing up here is the drums. So right off the bat, we're starting with this kick up here. It says minimal kick. What that means is 909 kick. So yeah, these classic drum machine sounds are super good for this style. A lot of times people use 808 kicks, but I find the 909, like if you listen, you get a really good groove with it because it really thumps through the mix in the way the 808 doesn't always do. And that's just super dry. We've got that. Then we have the rest of the drums in a group. Now, why are we doing this? And why don't we have the kick in this group? Well, basically, the kick needs to stay really clean, right? Like, we really just want that to just be like this big, fat, boom, boom, you know, like that. On this group, what we're doing is we have a bit of drum bus. It's being blended on there. It's not just fully drum bus. It's kind of like a layer. But what would happen if we put the kick in here? So listen to it right now. And then with the kick. And now listen to if I put the kick outside of the group. It's so much better. And it's only like a 10 or 20% difference, but that's the point. It's like when you get to that certain point with music, like that 10 or 20% difference makes everything, right? Because what's happening is if you put the kick in the group, it's kind of like all crunching together more, because that the low end being pushed through the drum bus with the high end from the percussion can be a really cool sound. But for this, again, it's just kind of taking away from the kick and from the percussion. Plus what's happening here is it's like these are a lot more focused like together. And that kick is really kind of in its own range. So yeah, that's why we're doing that. And it starts here with a bit of percussion. We got like this little 909 rim shot. Some noise percussion. You can hear it's kind of like call and response. Like you got a little bit of the noise, then the 909, then back to the noise. And the way the noise percussion is made is it's pretty simple. It's white noise, right, with a short envelope, bandpass filter, also with an envelope on it, LFO on that filter, just moving around, and then just some drum bus. And the drum bus is a good tip with these noise percussions. It can really help it sound less like a synth and more like actual like drums. We got a snare. That's got a bit of drum bus on it as well. I've got these hi-hats with a bit of reverb and some drum bus. And this hi-hat. And so this is a bit of sound design. What's happening, I'll play this with the main hi-hats so you can hear. So it's playing this. Right, like that. And then what's happening is we have this filter delay on it. So it's kind of creating all that extra sound. And those are very rhythmic, right? Because the delay is synced. And then when you put that through this filter here, it kind of cuts off some of the highs. And I have an LFO on that, so it's like moving around. And now you get this moving kind of like background percussion that fits in, right? Like it's on the beat. It's not just like random delays. But it's like creating more sound out of those few little hits. And then on the percussion group, again, like I was saying earlier, we just have a little bit of drum bus. Now, it's not doing too much. Here's without it. And with it. You can see it's only at 13%. But what's happening here is that 13% that's blended in there just elevates the whole thing. And it almost works as like a layer rather than just saturating everything at once. So then we have the synth. And you'll notice these are all like, it's not that many. It's only 3, right? And that's like something to really keep in mind here is these are really simple tracks. When I was studying these and going through reference tracks, a lot of times they wouldn't even have like the lead. Like it would just be these 2 layers. Right, the lead's almost like kind of extra, but I wanted to throw it in here so I could show you guys how to make that. So this also goes to the thing of like, if you leave that space, like if you keep it simple and just have like this, you know, like the bass line and then maybe a 303 or something over it and then like one more synth, if that, it just creates more space in the track to where people can actually hear what's going on. Like there's a really good groove between the 808 and the 303. And particularly that detuning you're getting between both of them, kind of in the low mid-range. But if you have too much happening with this lead, you're not even going to be able to notice that. So it's just like having the lead just be like 3 notes like this. So that there's plenty of space to even just be able to hear what's going on. So going through the synths starts with the lead. We're in the key of G, and then I'm just doing this like dark kind of. You know, very simple, but also really rhythmic too, like with the drums. This is almost like a percussion. So for the sound, this is made with wavetable. It's 2 square waves, a little bit of a low pass, noise unison turned all the way up, so we get a nice kind of like chaotic texture. And also, speaking of texture, I have grain delay on here. And grain delay is a really good way to add textures to your sounds. Right, because it takes this kind of simple super saw lead. And it just adds like so much more to that and texture. And yeah, then we just have a bit of reverb, some drum bus, and then a high pass filter. And yeah, then we have the 808. So this 808 is just 2 notes. It's just G and G sharp. And then the high notes are the same too, just in a different octave. But this one's really about the groove. It's that like... And the way that we go up here, like, to G sharp. And kind of hang on that for a second there. You know, that's really it. And also the way this grooves with the kick, too. I started with the kick pattern, and then made this around the kick pattern. And you see how much of the groove is happening just from this one element. Now, for the sound, this is made using an 808. It's a hip-hop 808. If you guys know hip-hop production, it's a Spins 808. Super, like at this point, kind of a washed sound in terms of that stuff. I would think, like, not really wanting to use this too much these days for hip-hop. But in this stuff, it's really good, because what the Spins 808 is it's just like the ultimate fat, like, bassy 808. right? You can hear that. I'll turn it up a bit. And it has a little bit of mid-range to it as well. But what this is like the perfect blank slate, essentially, for distorting. Because it's so deep and fat, but it has that perfect little bit of mid-range on top that you can then just like drop some distortion on. And that'll distort so well. Compared to like, let's try grabbing like one of these like blank 808s just straight out of the drum machine. So you don't get that like even distortion like that. So that's what makes this so good for doing this. And what I've done here is I'm using pedal. It's a distortion mode, and then I've got the sub. That's very important, and that's a good thing about pedal is you can make your bass still very fat because you can just turn on that sub knob and it'll let the bass through. And then we're blending it. It's only at 33% wet, and that's also important because if you do too much of this, you think it has low end, but you're actually losing a lot of low end. So if you just blend it, it still is 67%, not even with any of this distortion, but that little blend there is all you need for it to be plenty distorted and still have the low end. And then I just have this sidechain to the kick a little so it doesn't clash too much. And then the last sound that we have here is the 303. Now, the 303 pattern, there's two things about it. One, it's only 2 notes, just like that last bass I showed you. We're just using G and G sharp across a few different octaves. The other thing here, though, is check out, one, how there's that little space in the beginning, which allows the lead to come through. Right, that. So that's the first thing. But then also, check out how well this grooves with the 808. Right, like you can hear those two on their own, and that would actually make a nice break for this track too. And it can, you're still bobbing your head, like that groove is happening between these, it's the interplay between these two elements. And that is in 2 regards. One, the notes. Right, like for example, even like, again, we're talking about that little space in the beginning of the 303 pattern. Having the 808 go boom, and then the 303 do-do-do. Like it's almost like a call and response, like a boom, 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 boom. And also, that's not just the 303, that's also keeping the 808 simple enough to where you even have room for this 303. So that's the first way that these two are interplayed. The second is that detune you get. At some points, these aren't playing the same note. Like one will be playing G and one will be playing G sharp. And that creates some dissonance. But when you're going for this like dark, evil sounding electro, it sounds sick. And that also has to do with the actual like octaves these are in as well. The fact that this 303 is pretty low, because if I put this up an octave, you are still getting that a bit with the like detuning. But yeah, just having them really low like that together just stacks up the nice bass. And this also grooves off of the drums too. It's not just grooving off of the 808. So you want to have all of those and then add this. And not just adding it to add it, but adding it as a response to what's already happening. Now, for the 303 sound, what it is it's operator, but we're not using any FM. It's this algorithm where you can see there's no FM happening. And it's a saw wave and a square wave, right? Kind of like classic 303 sounds. And what's happening is we have a filter. You can see it's got the soft shaper. It's got a bunch of resonance. And it's got an envelope. And it's a low pass filter. So that's the first movement that's happening there is the envelope. But then we also have this LFO moving pretty fast on it. And if I turn that off, see how the 303 becomes like so much more just flat. And turn up the amount on that even more. You can hear it just adds a lot of movement to that. Then after that, we just have a bit of echo and a high pass filter, and that is it for the 303. And that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, literally the entire thing that you just saw is available at the top of the description on my website for just $5. Don't miss out, guys. It's a super solid template that will take your tracks to the next level today. Thank you so much for the support, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.